Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Has the world been looking at this disorder incorrectly? How is it measured? And could cannabis be the catalyst in curing millions? Millions? Yes, millions. According to the World Health Organization, 3.9% of people have experienced PTSD at some point in their life. The likelihood of developing PTSD also varies on the type of traumatic event. For example, the rate of PTSD is 3 times higher amongst people who are exposed to violent conflict or war. While most people who experience traumatic events don't develop PTSD, a lot do. For example, those without a support system like family or close friends tend to suffer more. And overall, women are more affected than men. PTSD is far more prevalent than most people realize, and it's still being stigmatized. To minimize the stigma, a small group of clinicians and military personnel are lobbying the American Psychiatric Association to change the name of PTSD to PTSI, a post-traumatic stress injury. So we may see this name change in the new DSM-5. But what does someone experiencing PTSD experience? In PTSD, the memory of a traumatic event doesn't go away, but most memories don't just go away. With PTSD, the memories are intrusive. They interrupt regular thought patterns and they are involuntary. They are recurring and could happen at any waking hour. Sleeping hours too. They can even interrupt dreams. They lead to dissociation, or what we call flashbacks, taking the sufferer right back to the time and place where everything started. Am I exaggerating? No. There is a physiological response to these events. Increase in stress hormones, heart rate, breathing rate, sweating, and much more. We call this hyperarousal. But how do we measure hyperarousal? The severity of PTSD through what's called the CAPS score, the clinician-administered PTSD scale for the DSM-5. This is a structured interview developed by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. It measures the current, recent, and lifetime effects of PTSD, ranging from absent to extreme. While tried and true treatments for PTSD like medication and psychotherapy have some value, to others, the value isn't there. It is true that medications like SSRIs, SNRIs, and benzodiazepines have proven effective. But all PTSD is not the same, and neither is its cause. PTSD is quite variable. Some people develop it, some people don't. And why can it be so difficult to defeat? It may go down to the genetic level. Dr. Caroline Nevergelt and the rest of her team at the University of San Diego conducted an experiment. They did a genome-wide association study on over 1 million people. The study demonstrated over 95 locations on the human genome that are associated with PTSD. The paper underscored the impact of heritability on PTSD and its effect. It also highlighted the genes that influence the processes of heart rate, breathing rate, the stress, fear, and threat responses. It also went on to say that their findings point to possible associations between mental and physical disorders in PTSD. So with the implied genetic destiny and with the comorbidities, it can be very difficult to handle PTSD. And the first steps in breaking PTSD's stranglehold tend to revolve around memory. Enter the hippocampus. Part of the brain that affects memories, good ones, and in this case, bad ones. In patients suffering from PTSD, the hippocampus looks dramatically different from what we would consider normal. The volume of this area of the brain actually shrinks when somebody has PTSD. Consider it the brain's attempt to protect itself from itself. This area of the brain is covered in CB1 receptors and many others. CB1s are the receptors that connect to THC in cannabis. This is also the mechanism that gives THC its effects on short-term memory. But that might be a video for another time. Cannabinoids are the chemicals cannabis makes that bear a striking resemblance to chemicals your body makes naturally. Chemicals like AEA that regulate everything from pain, sleep, emotion, and memory. Simply put, or as simply as possible, cannabis works on PTSD symptoms through modulating cannabis receptors located on the hippocampus. Because of this, the use of THC has been shown to have a positive impact on PTSD symptoms. people suffering from PTSD have said that cannabis use can reduce their symptoms by up to 50%, at least in the short term. That's what was found in a recent study by Kerry Cutler of Washington State University. The study that was recently published in the Journal of Affective Disorders found that the severity of intrusions was decreased by 62%, flashbacks were decreased by 51%, irritability reduced by 67%, and anxiety was decreased by 57%. But those symptom reductions were not permanent. In a study published by the Journal of Psychopharmacology, there was a look at CBD and how it affects blood flow to different parts of the brain. The lead author, Dr. Michael Bloomfeld, said that there's evidence that CBD may reduce symptoms of psychosis and anxiety. There is some evidence to suggest that CBD may improve memory function. Additionally, CBD changes how the brain processes emotional memories, which could help to explain its reputed therapeutic benefits in PTSD and other psychiatric disorders. Dr. Bloomfeld's paper went on to say, if replicated, these results could lead to further research across a range of conditions characterized by changes in how the brain processes memories, including Alzheimer's disease, where there are defects in the control of blood flow, along with schizophrenia, and post-traumatic stress disorder. In addition to this, the way that cannabis products can regulate sleep, particularly REM sleep, can reduce the nightmares and sleep disturbance associated with PTSD. Also, the release of certain neurotransmitters with cannabis use that can decrease stress and anxiety have shown themselves useful. With many studies added per year, the optimal dosage is still something we don't really know. And why is that? Scientists have had more than 10 years to dial it in, because it's the type, the format, and other aspects of cannabis that really matter when it comes to something like PTSD. For instance, small amounts of edible THC have shown a dramatic improvement of the CAP score, even when taken on occasion. However, the ideal depends on who is being treated. What's the age? What's the gender? What's the medical history? What treatments have been tried in the past? Which ones worked? Which ones failed? And to go a step further, what's the severity and quality of your symptoms? Each of these permutations matters. And it matters a lot. On top of the scores of cannabinoids available, what's the ratio of these cannabinoids? Were they inhaled or were they ingested? Let alone the terpenes and the other factors. Complex. No. Well, it gets more complicated. Cannabis has side effects itself. Improper use of cannabis, improper dosing of cannabis, and even drug interactions with cannabis can make the symptoms of PTSD worse. So while the rewards can be significant, this involves nuance. It involves guidance. So whether you're using cannabis as a bridge to transition to traditional medication, or if you're using cannabis as a treatment itself, it may fall short of expectations without a guide. A guide on what to use and how to use it. Because take one marijuana daily doesn't cut it. And it never did. DeMonet is a personalized education platform honoring the rich scientific and medical history of cannabis, while catering to the present and future of plant wellness. In doing so, we paint a picture to bring the complexities of plant wellness into focus. Hey everyone, if you liked what you saw, there's more videos available and more information right here.